What?
Can't see any of our snow days yet.
Okay, I'm gonna get started, guys.
I don't think it's fair that people are pushing back on.
Hey, do you have a lanyard? Where?
Yeah. Well, I took it off before the whole.
You take it like you go.
Actually, I think it's in my.
It doesn't bother me. Okay, listen. I don't like wearing them. I don't wear it. It's right there. Okay.
I didn't get lunch today.
Okay, listen.
I didn't eat.
I get snags on things. And all that.
And I was 10 feet from trees. I was 10 feet. You go to a Catholic school that says, and you say you're wearing. I know. The lanyard is part of a uniform, so I don't like to play with that.
Okay, here we go. Moving on. Ruby, all right? Sorry. Okay, so we have Federalists versus the Anti-Federalists. Okay, Federalist argument is that checks and balances work. You don't need a Bill of Rights because the states have them. Okay, now over the weekend, I'm going to ask that you guys read the Federalist Papers, page 44 through 51 or through 49. There's 5 there. Number 1 by Hamilton, number 2 by Jay, number 10 by Hamilton, 51 by Hamilton, 54 by Madison, and then 78 by Hamilton. So John Jay actually only writes 5 of the 85 essays. The rest are written by Hamilton and Madison. Okay, so these papers are written. These essays are written and mostly distributed in New York in the newspapers. Okay, so when you read these, they're not the full text of the Federalist Papers. It's an excerpt of those papers. Okay, if I had you read the full text, it would take you a lot longer. Okay, yeah, it's a big book. I've got copies of it. A couple different copies over here. Somewhere. Okay. Yeah, so you can see the Federalist Papers are quite long. So I actually ran into this probably about 10 years ago. We went on a vacation to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, and I wanted to play golf, so I brought my clubs with me. And so I found a course to play at, and usually at a nice course, they usually pair you up with somebody if you're single. And so I got paired up with this young guy and started talking to him, and he said he went to James Madison University. Okay, and I was like, oh, well, I know that guy, James Madison. I teach about him, right? And he said the Federalist Papers, required reading for all freshmen entering James Madison University.
All of them?
Yeah, you have to read it your freshman year. Okay, Federalist Papers. So I'm only making you read 5. Okay, I will send you a reminder Sunday to read the Federalist Papers. We will discuss these on Monday. Okay? Good? Or not so good? They are good. Okay? They are well written. And Madison is quite poetic in his writing. Okay, so I think you'll take note of that. And so moving forward, these Federalist Papers are going to try and weaken opposition, okay, in the, especially in New York, okay. Now, Jefferson and Washington will throw their support behind this new Constitution, okay. And so Virginia and New York are 2 of the most that are divided on this. Eventually, they would ratify, okay. So when we look at ratification, of course, you need 9 of the 13 states, but Delaware, which is actually the smallest state population-wise, is the first to ratify on December 7th, 1787. Okay. New Hampshire will be the 9th, okay, in June of 1788. Eventually, all 13 will ratify. Okay. So the new Constitution will go into effect shortly thereafter. All right. So Small states feel like the Senate will protect them from the larger states. You have the Federalist Papers, Hamilton, Madison, and Jay. Okay, and then Virginia will come along with the urging of Jefferson and Washington, and New Hampshire is the 9th state. Now, when they wrote these papers, these essays in the newspaper, they did not use their names. They used pen names. You guys know what a pen name is? Okay. Now, most people respected James Madison if they knew who he was and so forth, okay? Now, people in Virginia knew who he was, but he may not have been as famous in some of the other states. And a lot of people know who Alexander Hamilton is. And a lot of people don't like it. Hamilton is one of those kind of lightning rod people, yeah? That you either love them or you hate them type guys. And that's one of the reasons they did not use their own names. Okay, does anybody know what they used as the pen name? What? Publius. Publius. Okay, so I'll show you that right here. This is what it looked like in the newspaper. Okay, Philo Publius. Okay, that's what they used as a pen name, or citizen of New York. Okay. So we'll save that discussion for Monday, as far as the Federalist Papers go. Okay. See that. Heidi and Oscar missing today. Do what? Good? I'm not going to ask you to know these dates. Okay. But that is a significant December 7th. We've had another significant event.
1940.
I don't know if you guys were kids when this happened, but they started minting the quarters with the states on the back. Okay, the first one that they minted was Delaware, because it was the first state, and they did them in order of when they became states.
The Delaware is technically the oldest state.
Yeah, technically, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess you don't have to write all this down, but it is significant here, guys, that there was a strong recommendation. So like Massachusetts, North Carolina, and Virginia said, okay, we will ratify if you put in a Bill of Rights. Okay, so again, grateful to those who persisted in this so that we do have our rights in writing, in black and white. Okay, that's significant. Okay, so the Federalists promised that the first Congress would pass a Bill of Rights. Okay, now what's interesting, guys, so do we call Madison a Federalist or an Anti-Federalist? He's a Federalist. Okay, do you know who wrote Bill of Rights? James Madison, who said we didn't need them. Okay, James Madison became the first, what? Anybody know?
Secretaries that note, Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House. And as you guys know, I think I told you, if you don't, you will know soon. In order to propose an amendment, one of the ways to do that, right, is by a 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress. So the Bill of Rights were authored by James Madison, and they were proposed by Congress, okay? Now, there's actually 12 amendments proposed. Only 10 will be ratified by the states, okay? The first Congress will meet March 4th, 1789, okay? Ruby, you might remember that date, March 4th, which used to be what? Yeah, it used to be Inauguration Day. Okay. Until we changed it with what amendment, Ruby?
Oh, that's.
Which one? That's on your test.
We're being Austrian picked on. Okay.
All right. Now, George Washington sworn in on April 30th, 1789, which, Lily, is a significant birthday in our family. Her brother. Hi.
Which two amendments didn't get?
Oh, you're gonna ask me that. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna save that, but I will tell you that one of the two that was not ratified was actually ratified in 1986.
Oh.
Proposed in 1789, ratified in 1986.
Changing salaries done.
Yeah, the 27th Amendment was one of the original Bill of Rights proposed. Okay. We're not there yet. Okay. All right, that's that. Done with that. Okay, done with these notes, people. They're going.
Thank goodness.
Oh no, you're still going to be writing. Don't put your notes away.
Yeah, but that's like more right.
Yeah, we're done. Yes. Okay. So listen, we still have a little bit to discuss with the Federalist Papers, okay, on Monday. But from here on, we're moving on to a new header in your notes called The Basics of the Constitution. New header. How many articles are there in the Constitution? 7. So, now, the first 3 are what? The 3 branches, okay? Now, Article 1, legislative branch. Now, check this out. Article 1 fills up these 2 columns. These first 2 columns, okay? Article 2 is the executive branch. Article 3 is the judicial branch. Okay? So you guys are smart people, right? So the legislative branch makes the laws, okay, and controls the purse. Yes? Okay, the executive branch, okay, carries out the laws or executes the laws, and they carry the sword. Yes? And the judicial branch, they interpret the law and the Constitution. How's that?
You didn't draw a purse or a sword.
because I can't.
Get us sold. Yeah, I was gonna say, but- okay.
I don't even know where this is going.
Oh, okay. It's sideways.
First, why is it so fast?
That looks.
Small little hand.
The scale was the best one. You're right.
Scale with sticks. I love it. I think we need a plan.
Oh.
What did you do?
Oh, good stable base.
Oh. I have to shade it.
It looks a little top heavy.
This is what Andrew does in Surrender. This is Pat. He critiques her.
Yes.
What she does in family.
Yes.
Positive criticism.
I do
You're
not
building your
have
character.
the gift, okay? That's my best effort. Now, okay, so we are gonna move to Article 4 of the Constitution, okay? Article 4, okay? And one way to describe this would be interstate, not intrastate, interstate between states, and federal relations. So interstate, and federal relations. So there's going to be a couple of different clauses that we're going to talk about here, okay? And we're going to start with, when you dig into the Article 4, what's called the full faith and credit clause. Full faith and credit clause. Okay, so driver's license. It's a magnet.
Oh, that's kind of.
I think I got this in Mexico.
Oh, I have a wallet too, actually.
Wow, so do I.
I got it for free though.
Does it have a magnet on it? It's
It's
just,
a sticker.
oh, for like the back of your phone?
Yeah.
A lot of people here have a-
Okay, have you ever wondered why you can use your Kansas driver's license in any of the other 49 states?
You gotta say Article 4.
And what's in Article 4?
Credit.
The full faith
Oh,
And credit.
and credit clause. Yeah. I've had a beard longer than you've been alive.
Well, that's a larger beard.
you got a soul patch.
Yeah, it might be a
Like a
little,
mini beard.
It's like,
Just a
little
like
broader.
How many names for beers are there? Well, there's different styles.
Well, there's only one, like, it's a beard, but it's like,
Full beer.
you can have it, like, you have hair, you can have it braided, you can have a ponytail, you have a bun. That's all I know. But I'm sure there's more.
Those are a lot.
Like fruit.
Okay, so licenses. Okay, contracts. Contracts in one state must be recognized by another state. Marriage licenses, death certificate, and so forth must be recognized, okay? Most licensing takes place at the state level. Now, if I were to move to another state and try to get a job teaching, I would have to probably, they would recognize my Kansas teacher's license, but they may have additional requirements, like might have to take a class if I move to Texas in Texas history. You know, like if you move here, you have to take Kansas history, okay, in order to be a teacher in the state, okay? So they may have some additional requirements to be licensed in that state, okay? But when it comes to things like marriage licenses, official documents, one state is supposed to recognize the other, okay? And that is important, okay? But realize this, that most licensing that is done is not done by the federal government, it's done by state government, okay? That's kind of one of their big functions of state government. So if you want to practice law in the state of Kansas, you have to have a license to practice law in the state of Kansas. Same thing as a doctor, okay? You can move and get relicensed, but some, like I said, there may be additional requirements. Good? Okay. The second clause in here that we want to talk about is one that refers to privileges and immunities. Privileges and immunities. Okay, again, we're talking about interstate relations here, right? So when we talk about privileges and immunities, there's certain privileges that you have for living and paying taxes in the state of Kansas that people from not from Kansas don't have. What privileges might that be? Yeah, like in-state tuition for college. Okay, that comes from the privilege. Okay, what else can you do in Kansas that people that are not from here do?
Vote.
Vote.
Kansas,
Vote in Kansas elections.
like not for Kansas senator. Oh, Kansas.
Right. Okay. So those are a couple of the privileges. Now, how long does it take for you to establish residency in a state?
6.
That's a lot.
Okay, see, here's the thing, guys. We have 50 state governments, and they all make their own laws. Okay, so there's not a fixed answer on some of these questions, but generally, it's 30 days to establish residency. So like if you move to another state and you want to vote, you have to live there for 30 days. Okay? Why they make you, some states may be 6 months. So why would they make you wait 30 days or 6 months to establish residency? Yeah, so you don't get voting fraud and that sort of thing. Gives you time to know the candidates, kind of some of the issues that face your community, that sort of thing. Okay. Now, let me talk about this tuition thing, this in-state tuition. So, does that mean like if you move to Oklahoma a month before school starts, or let's say Missouri, you move to Missouri before school starts, and you're there for 30 days, you can get in-state tuition? Probably not. Okay, that's not going to happen. So this happened to me. Okay, I moved here in December of 1995. Okay, in January of 96, a month later, I enrolled at Wichita State University. And I was going back to school to become a teacher. Okay, because I had a business degree from my first time around in college back in 91. So now it's 96. And I'm at Wichita State and I'm going to study education. All right, so I went a full year, I was a full-time student, and I also had a job that I was working 20 to 30 hours a week. Okay, so I was paying taxes in Kansas, as a full-time student, and what kind of degree was I seeking? Education to get a Kansas teaching license. That is only valid in what state? Kansas, okay? So after a year of being at Wichita State, living here, paying taxes, I went to finish my second year, to enroll in January of 97. And they told me I had to still pay out-of-state tuition. Now, why would I move here from Louisiana to get a Kansas teaching license at Wichita State University if I was planning on going back to Louisiana? Does that make any sense to you? So I appealed this decision, went through the appeals process, and they said, nope, you got to pay out-of-state tuition. You know what I said to WSU? Kiss my. And I went to Newman. Okay, and I finished my certificate, got my certificate through Newman. Now, out-of-state tuition versus Newman, about $30 an hour difference more at Newman. at the time. I don't know what it is now. But, yeah, I mean, I'm like, what's wrong with you people? You know, I've been here for a year. I've been paying taxes. Is Wichita State have like some well-renowned education program? No, they don't. Trust me. Okay. Now, Emporia State, that's a teacher's college. They have a great education program. You know what I mean? Have you heard that? Did you know that? Okay. Yeah, they are. I mean, they're like really well-renowned. Okay. Yeah, so I finished at Newman, and I was able to finish a semester sooner by going to Newman. Okay. And so to get back at the government of Kansas, when I moved here in 95, I had Florida tags on my car because I'd only lived in Louisiana for 6 months. Okay. I had Florida tags on my car. Now, when you redo your tags in Florida, it costs like $50 to renew your tags. In Kansas, they charge you out the yin yang for your tags. I don't know if you know this, guys. They base your tag based on the value of your vehicle. So if you buy a new car and you put a tag on it, it's going to cost you, I think, because I have a new truck. I think it was like almost $800.
What?
Yeah. No, I'm not making that up.
Drive it unregistered.
Huh?
Just drive it unregistered.
Well, I did for a while. So did Lily.
I got pulled over.
We're bad about.
Oh, you did it.
Oh, what a criminal.
Because my license was expired. Yours was like a whole like year
So you're driving an unregistered truck on a expired license?
No, my license is valid. It was my tags and I didn't have my insurance card.
You didn't have
I was
your-
driving with you whenever.
So it was an uninsured and unregistered.
Yeah.
I've got my registration in my backpack.
So, guys, I left my Florida tags on my vehicle for like 2.5 years after moving to Kansas to stick it to the man. Okay, because I mean that really pissed me. Oh, I'm not a resident. Well, I guess I don't need full Kansas tax. You know what I mean? So
Wait, why? Would that matter? Like, why do you need kids? Like,
if you live here, you're supposed to have Kansas tax.
how do they know you live here?
Right.
Yeah.
And the only
Probably from my
notice,
driver's license.
Oh, you had a Kansas?
Well, yeah. I mean you got to renew every so often. So,
Okay.
yeah.
5 years.
So are other states get around that?
Yeah, I mean,
Have property in it?
you might be able to do that. Yeah.
So
Or
your
say you
license,
live with someone else.
so if you wouldn't have had to renew your license, you technically could have just been there for like 5 years
Yeah.
before.
But no, I was working here and people were like, why do you have Florida tax? Like, well, let me tell you a story. Okay. So, yeah, it can be frustrating. A couple other things here dealing with privileges and immunities. So let's say you're visiting Wichita, Kansas, all right? Now, I don't know if you guys know this. There's an ordinance in Wichita that if you're playing your music in your car, any of you guys have those subwoofers in your vehicle, like, you know, I'm talking subwoofers.
They know what's up.
don't have them, but I don't have.
Have you ever been like at a stoplight and like you can feel that in your body and you're like, now when you get old, you're like, dude, who's invading my privacy right here? You know what I mean? That's
Oh,
Jack has
somebody
subwoofer.
Has
drove
two
by, I was
subwoofers.
working and somebody like drove by and we could hear it in the back of the kitchen.
right. So if you can hear that from 50 feet away in Wichita, you can get a ticket for that. Okay, that's a city ordinance, all right? Now, let's say you're visiting from outside of you're not from Wichita, and you got your subwoofers going, and can the cop in Wichita give you a ticket for that? Absolutely. It is your responsibility to be familiar with the laws of the state and community that you're in. That's your responsibility. Ignorance is not bliss here, okay? Let me give you another example for those of you that may or may own firearms. Okay, so in Kansas, if you own a gun, you can carry it. Okay, now, if you go to Illinois and you're on your way to Ohio, you have to drive through Illinois, and you have a gun in your vehicle, and you get pulled over in Illinois, you could go to jail. Okay, so what you have to do at the border of Illinois is stop, take your gun apart, and put it in your trunk, and then you're okay. But it's your job to know the law in Illinois. They have very strict gun laws, okay, and very high murder rates.
I wonder if there's a correlation.
There are some studies. Okay. Now,
Why are people getting murdered so much in Chicago? I was like,
South Side, baby. South Side. Thursday. Playoff baseball. It's October. Sucks. Okay.
Must be
Not the
nice.
correct color there.
Good guys wear black. All right, now. Okay, so similarly, okay, you're from Sedgwick County. You got the little SG on your tag, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you're driving to Nebraska, and you're up in York, Nebraska, and you're thumping your music, right? And the sheriff of York, Nebraska pulls you over. Well, he used to live in Wichita, so he knows the ordinance. Playing your music more than 50 feet. Can he give you a ticket in York, Nebraska? There's no jurisdiction there, right? So I was just giving you a thing. Okay, now let's talk about this thing called extradition.
That's still part of the privileges.
Yes, we're still on privileges and immunities, okay? Okay, so let's say you rob a liquor store with a handgun in Wichita, Kansas, okay? And take off. You're headed, south, and the cops start chasing you, okay? So you hop on 135 and you start booking it for Oklahoma, okay? Now, you cross into Oklahoma. Can the Kansas state trooper follow you in Oklahoma?
Yes, but they didn't arrest.
Yeah, he's got a driver's license too. Oklahoma recognizes it, right? Can he detain you in Oklahoma? No. But what he can do is call ahead to the Oklahoma state troopers and say, hey, look, we're chasing this guy. He's about to come into your state. Will you please apprehend him? And they will, okay? But can then that Oklahoma state trooper hand him over to the Kansas state trooper? No. The governor, who? The governor of Kansas will call the governor of Oklahoma and say, you guys have this person in custody that's wanted for armed robbery of a liquor store in Wichita. We would like you to extradite them back to Wichita. And if the governor says yes, they transfer. Okay.
And they say no, then you're only.
Okay, now why would a governor say no? Well, let me give you an example where a governor could and has in the past said no. Okay, Kansas is a death penalty state. Okay, and so let's say the person flees to Massachusetts, okay, which is a very liberal state and they don't have the death penalty. Okay, so the governor of Kansas called, and we're going to charge this person with the death penalty. Governor of Kansas calls the governor of Massachusetts. Governor of Massachusetts says, oh yeah, we've got this guy. You want him back? Yes, we're going to charge him with the death penalty. Oh, you are? No, I don't think we're going to give him back to you. We don't believe in the death penalty here. So the governor of Kansas says, okay, what if we take the death penalty off the table? Okay, you can have it.
So there's never.
And then they charge you with
a
death penalty
scenario
anyway.
where they hang out in that other state.
That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I have not heard of that happening between states, but I have heard that Canada refused to return a person to California, which California has the death penalty, believe it or not, okay? At least they did. And Canada would not extradite. So if you're thinking about fleeing to another country,
Mexico is the
Okay, maybe Mexico, but guys, do
Argentina.
we have
They don't-
Iraq, Algeria, Sierra Leone,
Djibouti.
India?
Are we naming countries now?
Jeez. Listen, we have extradition treaties with most countries around the world, including Mexico. Now, the countries we don't have extradition treaties with, you would rather be in a federal prison getting 3 meals a day with heating and air conditioning and video games than, say, living in North Korea, Iran. These are countries we do not have extradition treaties.
Unless you're a drug kingpin in Colombia in the 80s. In which case, we'd rather be in Colombia.
The only thing you have to plug in, Cindy, is the power. Do you have Bluetooth speaker at home?
Well, yeah. But the little speakers have plugs for them,
Well, you have to plug the little speakers into the big speaker.
and then the big speaker is the part that's Bluetooth,
Yeah.
and I put it where,
You just gotta plug it in for the electricity.
that's it, but I can put it on the other side of the room.
Yes, ma'am.
It's the big speaker that has.
Yes, ma'am. And then you know how to find the Bluetooth device on your computer.
Yes.
And then you're golden.
Okay.
All right, so you guys understand extradition?
Yes.
And that is part of, remember, this is,
4.
Article 4
Privileges and
Privileges
immunities.
and immunities.
and interstate and federal relations, yes?
Yes.
Okay, now,
How is extradition a privilege or?
it's like, it's just, it goes along with kind of the
Interstate.
immunities things, like there's rules, okay? All right, we're done with privileges and immunities, okay? But we're still in Article 4 of the Constitution, okay? And so one of the things we talk about in Article 4 is adding new states, okay? So you guys might remember this from history last year. You guys remember before Kansas was a state, it was a what? It was a territory. Does anybody remember the number of people that must live in a territory before it becomes a state?
No.
30,000.
100,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
100,000. 1,000.
21. Can you give us a hint?
So nobody remembers.
No,
No. 1,600.
Guys, it's not 1,500.
60,000.
That's a lot more.
Thank God, I heard it, he said 60,000.
I said as you were writing.
Was that your first guess?
Yes.
Good job, Zeke. Lily, be nice.
I am nice.
Okay, now, you got population requirement to become a state, okay? What other requirements do you think you have to become a state?
Establishment.
Legislator.
You need a state, what?
Government
Constitution.
body.
Constitution, okay? Now, so let's just take Puerto Rico, okay? Puerto Rico's a territory. If Puerto Rico wanted to become a state, okay, Congress would pass what's called an enabling act. We'll talk about it. Enabling act allows for that territory to write a state constitution, which must have what type of government? A Republican or representative government. The state must be representative, okay? Does Puerto Rico have that now? Yeah, they have a representative government, okay? They have a governor, they have mayors, they have legislature, and they have a judicial branch, Puerto Rico, okay? Now, there have been a couple of times over the last couple of decades where the people of Puerto Rico, it actually went to a vote as to whether they wanted to become a state or not, okay? The threshold of 51% has never happened. It's gotten pretty close. But Puerto Rico, in a sense, gets the privileges of being part of the United States without paying the full cost of it.
That's not fair.
Would they,
They also-
would they gain it?
Yeah, they don't get to vote in our presidential election. Okay.
Like one-
Yeah, they don't have a voting member of Congress. They do have a, what's called a delegate. Actually, for Puerto Rico, it's called a resident commissioner. Guam, Virgin Islands, Johnson, American Samoa, these all have delegates, but Puerto Rico is a resident commissioner. Okay. But they can't vote in Congress, okay?
But they're not really a commission of the laws.
Would they gain anything from becoming a state?
More taxes.
Yeah,
Love it.
Voting rights, taxes.
and then we gotta figure out what to do with this.
Oh,
Like, where we're gonna put the star.
out before. Put the star in the middle.
Yeah, big one is the middle.
Stripes. Yeah.
Okay. Have any of you guys been to Puerto Rico? It's beautiful.
You don't, you need a passport to get in?
No, you do not. Yeah,
Do they need a passport to get?
nope. Okay, let's see here. Okay, couple of things here. So we're talking about states, okay? Obligations that the national government has to the states, okay? Obligations that the national government has to the states, okay? So first off, I kind of already mentioned this. There's an obligation the federal government ensures there's a Republican form of government or representative form of government in the states, okay? And they also have an obligation to allow them to have representation in the national legislature, right, in the U.S. Congress, unlike what the British did to us. Yes? So they have to allow representatives from our state, from each state, to be in Congress. Here's one that's kind of interesting. An obligation that's found in Article 4 is to protect against invasion or domestic violence. Now, this one is really tricky, okay? Were you guys paying attention to Del Rio, Texas, like 2 weeks ago? Did you guys see like 15,000 Haitian immigrants under the bridge in Del Rio, Texas? Holy crap, people! Are you living under a rock?
I thought you were gonna say under a bridge, and I was thinking.
Haitians. So listen, you guys know Haiti's an island, right?
Yes, very small one.
Okay.
No, it's same island as.
Isn't it one of the like worst countries in the world?
Haiti's not as bad as the Dominican. Oh, wait. Which one's worse off? Haiti's worse off than the Dominican?
Yes.
Okay. We can blame the French, not the US on that one, okay? Now. Right? So, listen, most of the. All right. Read the Federalist Papers this weekend. Bye, guys.